Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Dracula issei got bloodthirsty and massive harem part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Silver W. King for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. Let's start this video. There are certain irritating tasks that befell all rulers, even for one of the 4 great Satans, rulers of the underworld. Ddraig Lucifer wasn't normally one to conform to stereotype, but on occasion even he would curse paperwork. Doubly so, for being the only responsible ruler out of the 4. Ajuka tended to focus on his inventions than his job. Falbium considered being lazy an achievement. And Seraphal was too busy being a magical girl to be a Satan. And as for him, well, being called the Satan the devils will end with behind some closed doors isn't exactly endearing. It was a damnably seething title. Just because I care about him, I wonder how many of our subjects take a bit of time a day to mentally scream in horror at realizing that yes, these are our leaders. A sardonic smile tugged at his cheeks. Ddraig returned to the stack of papers on his desk. He had reached the annual assessment reports for devils living in the human world. It was a performance monitoring report to show the devils' activities, what they have been up to, and how many contracts they made for the year. The reports also helped in the ranking of said devils. With a bit of deliberation, Ddraig raised the pile, took the last paper and placed it down. He took a deep breath and read through it. Ddraig put down the piece of paper and sighed as he leaned back on his chair to contemplate. A small part of him had hoped that the result for this report would have been different this time. No change, Lord Ddraig? Ddraig turned to the speaker. The silver-haired woman in the maid outfit was his wife and holder of Queen Peace, Graphia Lucifuge. As always, during his work hours she treated him formally, even if they were alone. He would argue that point with her, but he knew he would lose anyways. He tried before. No, it seems like it's as expected, said Ddraig as he glances back at the report. The number of encounters with stray devils are also annoyingly high, yet they were all promptly handled. Graphia said to reassure him. Even so, Ddraig gazed far away, lost in an old memory. A part of me wonders if I had made the right decision. Graphia moved to stay by her king. Breaking decorum, she rested her hands on his shoulder. You did, Graphia told him, even she had her kingdom moments. You gave your sister the strength to follow her dreams. Yes, he said. Now I hope those dreams do not damn her. The annual assessment report was for Ddraig's little sister, Rias Gremory. The report held many pieces of data about the outgoings of the Gremory since she started living in the human world for the past 2 years, yet the one line that was the source of all problems was total number of human contracts, 1. Ddraig gave the report another look, before putting it down with a sigh. Well, he began in a carefree tone, as he stretched his muscles from sitting for too long. The rest of these aren't that interesting, so I think it's time for a break. The great Satan moved to get up, and the hand on his shoulder placing the lightest pressure stopped him. Please get back to work, Lord Ddraig. His queen said in a soft voice. Why? He said lazily to her. As the Satan, I don't have to work, if I don't want to. Because my lord, she began with a coy smile. Our shared rule, I do not work if you don't, Ddraig sighed dramatically. So, I do not get to taste you delightful cooking? Your revitalizing tea? What about our son? You would not work for him? Milikas will always get his meals on time, my lord. Either by my hands or one of the maids I trained. But as for you, my lord, only I'm allowed to handle your meals. Well, I might forget. Her smile had a knowing look, of one who held all the cards. And why are only you are allowed to make my meals? He played at whining. It is not like an assassin could really get to him with poison through such a method. Because only I get to hold that power over you, my lord. Tyrant, he mockingly cried out. Graphia hid her amusement, before her eyes took a gentler look. Although I might forget for myself as well. After all, it is a shared rule. She calmly added. Ddraig looked into his wife's eyes. They always held the same message. Keep going. Very well. He let out a large breath. He grasped her hand on his shoulder with his own and added. I suppose I would be a poor husband to starve my wife. Truly, I married a most devious serpent. Graphia stepped back, bowed and moved to make tea for her king. By your leave, my lord. Her retreating back hiding her small smile. Ddraig watched her leave with a content glow in his chest. As she closed the door behind her, he rolled his shoulders, gave a last look to the report on Rias, and went back to his work. Let this year will be a quiet one. Surely there can be moments of peace between each storm, right? For one Haida issei, today had been the greatest day of his life. He, a proud pervert whose parents have given up on him ever providing them grandchildren, had gotten a girlfriend. Not only that, but a cute and lovely one. They had just went on their first date together, and issei had pulled out all the stops. The theme park, movies, lunch, photo booth. The whole 9 yards. It was the perfect date, and it was ending at the perfect spot. At sunset in the Hikari Garden. A great park and couples spot that looks near magical at sunrise or sunset. And now this date is about to reach its best moment. He thought excitingly. His girlfriend, the beautiful black silk-haired Amano Yuma, had led him to the fountain at the center of the park, and made a request. It was the end of the date. "Would you die for me?" said Yuma's enchanting voice. Issei could feel his thoughts crashing to a stop. What did you say, Yuma-chan? Surely he heard wrong. Sorry, could you repeat that? I thought you said something silly like, "Would you die for me?" she said again, with a cruel glint entering her eyes. That's not a good joke, Yuma-chan. Issei tried to play off her question casually, yet couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. Suddenly, black feathered wings sprouted from Yuma's back. Her clothes were torn to shreds and reformed as latex bikini from an S&M collection, finishing the look with fetish black boots. Before him stood his girlfriend, looking like a sexy angel of death. Issei couldn't help but be scared and turned on at the same time. Thankfully, his self-preservation had kicked into higher gear barely than his lust, and he stood on guard. I had fun today, like playing house with a child. She raised her arm to the side and light gathered to form a spear in her hand. But it's time for you to die. You are a threat to us and can't be allowed minus. Hi. Excuse me, Miss Fallen Angel, but I'll have to ask you to not do that. Suddenly a cheerful voice cut through this dreadful scene. Both Issei and Yuma turned to see a teenage girl, waving at them with a wide smile and twigs in her hair. Actually no, it wasn't her hair, but a blonde wig that hadn't fully hid her red hair, as there were a few scarlet lines still visible. Also small bits of her clothes were torn from running through the bushes. The girl was Rias Gremory, renowned school idol in Ko Academy, president of the mysterious occult research club whose membership is exclusive, and secretly a devil. The girl was known for her aloof and gentle demeanor, and for her habit of keeping her eyes in a closed expression she was known as the shy jewel One-sama. While no one had actually seen her eyes, most would say they are probably as pretty as gems. Her closed eyes usually showed her as detached while giving her an odd feeling of tender wisdom from older years. Now, however, her wide smile with her closed eyes made her seem jolly and carefree. In fact, the ways her eyes crinkled at the edges just seemed to add to her devil-may-care look. Senpai? What, I mean, hair? Issei struggled to react to his bizarre situation before pointing to his senpai's hair. His image of her idol self was slowly crumbling in his mind. Oh. Thank you, Haida-kun, she said, with the words thank you in English, as she brushed off the twigs and straightened her wig to face Yuma. The fallen angel, Yuma, finally shook herself from the odd arrival, and gritted her teeth in annoyance, as she addressed the new disturbance. I don't know who the hell you are, little devil. You look weak, a stray maybe? She said tauntingly. I don't have time to deal with you. Lucky for you I'm busy, but if you don't get out of the way, I'll kill you too, said Yuma with a sneer as she focused again on Issei. Well, that just won't do, Miss Fallen Angel. Relations don't work like that. You can't kill your boyfriend at the first mistake, even if he is a boob-obsessed pervert. Issei felt like he was struck with Rias's words. You need to talk these things out, and explain your feelings. Besides, this is the first date, he couldn't have cheated already. Issei immediately looked up at that comment. I never would have cheated on Yuma-chan, he said hotly. Well, can't you think of anything you did during the date? There has to be a reason she's going yandere on you? Rias turned to the boy. Of course not. I was the perfect gentleman. Well, I did look at her a few times, but I was very gentlemanly about it, the pervert courageously admitted. The fallen angel looked at the two in front of her in confusion, from the conversation's derail, before her annoyance with this situation rose up. Would you two idiots shut up? You honestly think I give a damn about this human? Why, Yuma-chan, Issei said hesitantly as he stepped back. What do you mean? You know, you don't have to be shy about it. While the Tsundere act is cute, you have to know when to be honest. Enough. The black-haired girl cut off Rias as she leveled her spear toward Issei. There was never a relationship. I simply pulled him out here to kill him. The rest of this so-called date was just for my amusement. She smiled cruelly as she saw Issei's hurt look. She felt glee at his misery. So, your intentions along was just to kill him. That's it? No love, nothing? Ria said her head, her holding a crooked smile. Yes. Now you? Shut up. And you? She brought her arm back. Can die. The spear of light was thrown at Issei. It was in front of him in an instant, and Issei almost began to see his life flash before his eye when, slam, faster than either human or fallen could follow, Rias had appeared before Issei with the spear of light embedded in a tree nearby. Rias's fist was smoking from the impact and her movement had torn the wig away from her. Huh! Red hair? The fallen said as the gears started turning in her head. She knew of only one devil with blood-red hair in his area. Her eyes widened in recognition as the energy was till now was suppressed was open to her. She had thought it was just some random low-class devil that she can deal with later on. Now that Yuma could feel her energy, along with her hair, she could identify her. The high-class devil, heir of the Gremry devil family and whose territory was Ko City. The Gremry heiress, the fallen said with an annoyed growl. She hadn't intended to attract the attention of the devil of this territory. Hell, how did she even find me? Yuma had made sure to hide who she was till just before the moment she planned to do the deed, so she could lure the human away from any eyes. Why yes, nice to meet you. Now, since it seems you are here to cause trouble, I would like for you to leave. Ha, as if. Yuma smirked at the Gremry devil's word. It seemed she was either a pacifist, or maybe a weakling coward. Either way, I'll get what I want. Even if I have to go through. Crack boom, the fallen felt the demonic energy in the air. Before she could act, lightning slammed in the space front of her, and its power and resulting explosion through her back. My, you are quite the impolite fallen, aren't you? From the tree lean to the left appeared a black-haired maiden, in a ponytail with a yellow ribbon. She was Hinajima Akino, the other idol of Ko Academy, vice president of the Occult Research Club, and Rias's close friend. She was also a devil, and one with power over lightning. Usually, her calm nature makes her seem like a Yamato Nadeshiko, but now her gentle smile was replaced with an annoyed one, of someone having to restrain their urge to commit violence. Her eyes held a cruel glint for the fallen as her hands sparked with electricity. Wow, is she really so arrogant that she thought she could beat Rias-Wani-sama, Nyan? From the tree lean to the right, a short petite girl with white hair and cat ears walked out. The cheerful cat girl was Tuja Kaneko, seen by many at Ko Academy as the school mascot for her sheer adorableness and spunk. Damn it, the fallen angel found herself seething. As much as she wanted to make them pay for getting in her way, she knew she was outmatched. With a sore loser's quip of "I won't forget this," she quickly turned and flew away. Well, it looks like this is over, Akino said as she turned off the magical sparks, relaxed her shoulders, and dusted herself off. Rias, your hand is smoking. And indeed, Rias's hand was still letting out smoke from when she deflected the spear earlier. The Gremriere blew on it, the skin of her hand appearing quite reddened. Honestly, why would you directly parry it without magical coating? Just building resistance, Akino. Rias remarked, continuing to blow on her hand. That is not how it works, and you know that. Chided Akino. You never know, Akino. Gasper. Rias broke off from the conversation, and turned to wave to the top of nearby trees. Did you get all of that? Squeak, squeak. Issei let out a gasp as he followed Rias's line of sight, to see a group of bats nest at the top of the tree. They became visible, turning back to their natural color of black and gray, after being camouflaged like chameleons. Are they holding a video camera? Issei thought incredulously. Nya, I'm sleepy. Kaneko began rubbing her eyes out. Her downed ears gave her an adorable expression that Issei, in any other time, would have exclaimed Mo. About. Yes, I suppose today has been long. Honestly, 3 strays in one day? That has to be some sort of record. Rias mused as her held her chin. Yes, almost lucky, the last one was near here, said Akino, as she began to move and check on Kaneko. True. In a way that throws of the theory of this being a COR. What is going on? Issei finally shouted, unable to simply surge off or process these random shocking events anymore. What was that with Yuma-chan? Why did she gain stripper although awesome clothing and wings? Fallen angels? Devils? Catgirl? He gestured to Kaneko. Nyan, she yawned. Okay, you have to admit, that's adorable, said Rias. True, Issei nodded sagely, but again, what's going on? Why did Yuma-chan change? Why were you wearing a wig? He shouted, at his wits' ends. It was on sale, Rias said quickly, as she went and took back the downed wig in her hands. Besides, you never know when you might need a good wig. Like when? Like for example when I need. Ahem. The devolving argument was thankfully interrupted by Akino's loud cough. Perhaps, we should have this discussion in a much calmer setting. Ku Academy is a prestigious school, well known for many reasons: its history of successful and well-educated female graduates, its high standards and difficult entry requirements even after becoming co-ed, and of course, its ability to help all its students pursue their creative or athletic talents. Ku Academy was fully capable to funding tens of clubs and supplying them with the best equipment and learning environment. The Occult Research Club held such prestige of its own that it had an entire building all to itself. Why, it was even away from the normal school facilities, giving it that mysterious old school building feel to it. In the face of this exotic presence, Issei could only say, "Thesis a shed?" he said from his place on one of the two couches as he looked around the place. A large one, true beaut, it looked like a giant building from the outside. Why isn't it a giant building inside too? What happened to the giant building? He gestured to his surroundings in confusion. The shed was surprisingly well furnished inside. The place seemed divided into three parts. At the right were the TV, gaming console, and other entertainment materials, as well as some chairs. In the middle was Rias's desk, chair, two couches, and a table between said couches. Then to the left there seemed to be a very large wardrobe with sliding door, next to a closet. There was a large window behind Rias's chair, with smaller ones to the side, and ones next to the entrance door. Next to the entrance door on the right, and near the living room area, was a small kitchen area. All in all, it felt like a homely 2DK, but not what one would expect from the infamous and supposedly well-funded Occult Research Club. Budget cuts, said Rias. She was sitting in her large office chair, her elbows on the desk, her fingers interlocked and her head resting on them, still holding to her cheerful, closed-eyed, near-cat smile. Like the actual catgirl who was sitting on the opposing couch enjoying baked goods, tea and scones. It's gone, said Akino, as she was making tea for everyone. Although she seemed to have passed the number of people who would require the drinks. Why did she make 10 cups? Issei thought in confusion. What do you mean by gone? He watched as she gave him 1 cup, another for Kaneko, 2 for herself and the rest for Rias. Why is Rias-senpai getting 6 cups of tea? Rias took 1 cup, brought it to her. She took in the brew's fragrance, elegantly enjoyed a small sip, then downed the whole thing. That's not how you drink tea, budget cuts, said Rias as she placed down the cup and took the next one. We had to downsize the club's facility a bit due to a few financial incidents. Akino seemed lost in her thoughts. A bit pale and wide-eyed, like remembering something horrible. Quickly that look was gone. I'm imaging it. Budget cuts, Rias nodded. Wait, how did she get to her 4th cup? How can budget cuts cause you to sell so much of the old club building? And why doesn't it look the same outside? The outside is an illusion, as it would be difficult to explain where the old building went. As for said budget cuts, well, our president, Akino gave Rias a deadly smile, has some exuberant spending habits, thus we were forced to take some desperate measures. Akino had grabbed one of the tea set's forks and slammed it where Rias's hand was heading, which was to her own 2nd teacup. She's done! Issei saw that all of Rias's teacups were empty. Akino, Rias gave a hurtful cry at the seemingly act of betrayal, as she held her hand to her wonderful chest. Rias, Akino drew out the word, flashing her a wide, full tea smile. Unlike you, I need this to calm down and relax. Don't touch my tea. Minya Kaneko let out a loud sigh as she finished her tea. Akino Wanisama's tea is the best. It's refreshing, has perfect temperature, tastes delicious, SSS, cures status effect and give +10 to stamina and fatigue resistance. It's an RPG drink. Issei wanted to shout. You have been spending too much time with Gasper, Kaneko-chan, said Akino in a motherly way, with her hand resting on her cheek. On the other room, was the last member of the Occult Research Club. An odd, beauty that confused many students at Ko Academy and made not a few of them question their sexuality. Gasper Vladi, a boy who had such an impact on the student body that he received hundreds of love letters from girls and boys. Although, he always seemed to vanish before anyone could receive an answer. His presence was such a controversy that the school elected to build him his own bathroom, rather than deal with the potential fallout of having him choose which gender bathroom to enter. He's also an honorary member of the Cosplay Club and the Drama Club. Why his role as Juliet in the famous Shakespeare play was moving. In many ways, currently, this infamous school idol was playing video games in a cardboard box. As in, a literal cardboard box. He was following the conversation while playing his game. Issei, however, decided not to focus on the lovely boy, as Gasper's shy blush upon being caught looking at them had made Issei feel uncomfortable and asking himself questions he would rather shoot down than think too deeply about. Whether Gasper falls under the law of issei, to be admired and groped, is not something he would like an answer to. Thank you very much, indeed, said Rias as she drank her tea. Issei quickly focused back on the gorgeous redhead. Wait, what? Issei blinked at this oddity. Didn't Rias finish her tea? He looked around for a bit. Maybe there was an extra cup? Before shrugging it off. It wasn't the weirdest thing he saw today. He raised his cup to his. What the? To find it empty, Rias, Aquino said. Don't use high-level magic for childish tasks. Rias drank Issei's rightful brew with a pout. Issei, however, rather than focus on this humorous exchange, focused on the important detail. Right. Magic. Of course, with everything else that happened. Issei found his thoughts turning to Yuma and what had transpired. His head lowered in contemplation. Why did you want to kill me, Yuma-chan? Didn't you like me? Did I make you happy? Noticing their guest's frown, the president and vice president straightened themselves. Issei began, raising his head. Gremory-senpai, everyone, can you please explain to me what's going on? Yes, Ria said, her tone lower than its usual octave, showing a more caring side to the scarlet-colored devil. I suppose you are owed some answer, Hayato-kun. It is time I introduced who we are, and what you have gotten yourself into. Rias's voice turned serious. Aquino and Kaneko moved to stand behind Rias on either side of her. Gasper paused his game and left his box to stand next to Kaneko. Rias took on the Gendo pose once more, and spoke in a firm voice. Hayato Issei, I would like to introduce ourselves. I am Rias Gremory. I am Himejima Aquino. Tuja Kaneko, Nyan, G. Gasper Vladi. Stop blushing like that. We are the Occult Research Club and all of us are. At once all the members of the Occult Club sprang big bat-like leathery wings from their backs. Except Gasper. He cutely and frustratingly enough had little bat wings. Succubi. Issei's eyes widened in surprise and eminent joy. All standing club members stumbled in their place. Even Gasper? He asked after a moment. Especially Gasper. Yeah! Shouted said boy in surprise, hugging himself embarrassed, in a very adorable way. Isn't he a boy? He's the exception that proves the rule. Aquino proceeded to face palm before stopping and moving to the table in front of the club president's desk that held her second cup of tea. She downed it in one shot. Okay, now that I don't have a headache anymore. Rias, she gave her friend and club president a stern look. Hayato-kun deserves an explanation. Stop playing around and act responsible. Ah, said two let-down voices. Aquino, you spoil sport. Soyori not succubi? Both Rias and Issei pouted in disappointment. On the side, Kaneko quietly snickered, while Gasper was still blushing in mortification, but watching the scene. All four club members pulled back their wings, vanishing them. Someone has to be. Aquino then turned to Issei. Do you know that the earliest depictions of succubi were monsters that tricked men, and then killed and ate them? But Issei looked deep in thought for a moment. What if it had been a ruse? Something people who were against succubi came up with, to scare guys off during those old times. Like the church? He hypothesized. Or angry housewives? He added after reflecting. The group was quiet in impressed surprise. Who would have thought Issei could have been this insightful? Or maybe that was because the subject has to do with alluring buxom women? Rias pointed at Issei as she looked at Aquino. He's a genius. Her voice was calm and sagely. Isn't it because he's a pervert, Nyan? Issei wasn't sure whether to wince or to dia at her cuteness. Or maybe he's a genius in perversion, eh? Gasper said, joining the conversation. His voice held an allure that almost made Issei believe him being a succubus, regardless of what Aquino said. You can be a genius in being a pervert? Well, dear Gasper, I believe we are not getting off topic again. Rias pouted. She looked straight at her vice president, trying to weaken her anti-fun aura through sheer persistent grumpy adorableness. Sadly, Aquino was an expert in her friend's tactics, and thus Rias was forced to be responsible. Okay, Rias said after a defeated sigh. Hi, Adakun. Hi. Issei answered like soldier being called to attention. The truth is we are devils, Rias said in dull voice. Then she stopped, waiting to see Issei's reaction. Ahem, Aquino coughed. And no, we don't take people's souls. Rias internally cursed, having her fun taken away again. Issei's reaction would have been so amusing. Oh okay, said Issei, as she tried processing what he heard. Ahem. Aquino coughed again. Oh. Except Gasper. He's a vampire, Rias said with her usual energy this time. Oh. Issei looked at Gasper in surprise, which just caused the effeminate boy to blush at the attention. So which parts of myths about you are real? Since I'm pretty sure you don't sparkle. Gasper hesitated a bit, before he found his words. Well, the drinking of blood is real, and we get some power from it. Normal vampires need it to survive. Also yeah, sunlight is bad for normal vampires. Oh, that must not being able to walk in the day. Wait a minute, I saw you around in campus, walking in the sunlight just fine. Gasper had a wistful look. I'm half vampire, so I don't have problem with the sun, or even need to drink blood that often. Lucky, Gasper winced at that comment, although Issei didn't notice. Wait, Gremory-senpai was talking to some bats at the park? Issei left the question open for the cross-dressing vampire. That was me. It's a vampire ability to be able to turn into bats. Some can even turn into fog, but I never managed that. His voice became lower as he described his deficiency. Don't worry, Gasper, encouraged Rias. We'll get right on that when we have some free time. Wani-sama, the petite vampire responded in odd adoration. No, Wani-sama, said Kaneko. My feet are starting to get numb. Can we sit down now? No, Kaneko, we are not done expositioning yet. Aquino and Gasper let out an exasperated sigh. Wait, as Issei looked, he noticed the club members were still standing all this time, strategically behind Rias on either side. Have you seriously been letting them stand all this time, just for dramatic effect? Of course! Rias exclaimed proudly. She didn't even deny it. Then, Issei gained the club's attention again. If you guys are devils, and Gasper is a vampire, he quickly added the last part. Does that mean there are angels, and fallen angels, he said, remembering the term Rias first used to describe Yumichan. Yes, that is the heart of the matter, isn't it? Rias said with an apologetic smile at Issei's situation, and so Rias told him about the three factions. Angels, fallen angels and devils, about the Great War, and what it cost all three races, about the biblical God's gift to mankind, how it inspired legends, and why he was targeted, the sacred gears. I see, you have a sacred gear. How does anyone, you, Yuma, or anyone know that I have it? Well, there are multiple ways. A spell to detect what type of sacred gear you have, although that's usually used after it is confirmed someone has a sacred gear, or the spell user had a hunch or was astronomically lucky when using it on a random person. There are people with exceptional supernatural sensing ability, and then it could be because the sacred gear itself was special. Aquino answered him. She and Kaneko stopped going along with Rias's dramatic flair, and sat on the opposing couch from Issei, while Gasper returned to his box. Rias was predictably pouting at this betrayal. The sacred gear itself is special? Asked Issei. Yes, some sacred gears have powerful beasts sealed within them, and as such cause their user to, at times, have said beast's aura or characteristic, replied Aquino. So what you're saying I smell? Yep, of dragon Nyan, I see. All of this happened because I smell. Yes, Issei. Issei looked at Rias, feeling that she might oddly have an inkling of his thoughts. If you don't take showers daily you will. It is not something that normal people can smell, Issei. Aquino cut her off. It is something that a person with supernatural senses can feel about you. Even then, that fallen needed to be close in order to confirm if the aura of a dragon was coming from you or not. I see. Thank God, that's one thing not to worry about. I made sure to shower this morning. If you want to remove the smell, I personally suggest. Rias, Aquino drew out her friend's name, like a mother scolding a child. So, Issei tried to drive the conversation away from Rias and Aquino arguing. also because he was getting excited at the idea that he might have superpowers. How do I use this sacred gear? Is there a special method? Do I meditate? Alright, Rias stood up with enthusiasm and a large grin. Here is what you do, Rias, Aquino warned her from mischief. This is going to be the most difficult thing you do in your life. And Rias promptly ignored her. Issei found himself standing up facing Rias, matching her energy. Yes, ma'am, Aquino sighed, knowing that there are times, even she can't contain Rias's antics. Kaneko and Gasper looked on in excited amusement and curiosity respectively. Tell me, Haida Issei, what is your passion? Rias asked with a voice that promised glory. Appay. Issei unashamedly replied with determination. What do you dream and yearn for? Appay, what lies in your heart? What is this stupidity? Aquino muttered quietly. Appay, then call for it, Issei. Imagine it, and call for with all your will. The appay that will bounce the heavens. Rias thrust her hand, pointing up to the sky. Ahuaya. Issei followed Rias's motion, imagining them with all his might. The appay. The perfect appay. The balance of tender softness and firm hardness. The appay that faced the harshness of life, yet remained delicate and firm, as a supporting beam for the hopeless. The appay that could engulf a man in the sweetest of hugs, and give them a safe place they could truly call home. He cried out for it from the bottom of his heart, and for his powerful desire, it manifested. His sacred gear, of course, not the boobs. What's happenin'? For a moment, Issei thought he heard a drowsy voice, but he ignored it as his imagination for the transformation that unfolded. Emerald light burst from his left hand, illuminating the clubroom in its extraordinary glow. A red gauntlet materialized on Issei's left arm from motes of red light. It held a green gem placed on the back of his hand. The gauntlet covered Issei's left arm up to his forearm, with curved yellow spikes coming out near the end, on both sides of his forearm. Whoa, is that what being manly is like? Gasper muttered in awed speculation. Naya ha 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 ha, that's the dumbest power awakening ever. Kaneko clutched her sides in laughter, while kicking her legs in the air. Is that? Aquino lowered her face into her hand. I really wonder what the past boosted gear users would think, if they could see this right now. Aquino Rias shouted with a whiny scowl. I'm the one doing the dramatic announcements around here. And with that she turned to face Issei with a surprised look on her face. Impossible! Is it truly? The sacred gear spoken of in legend. One of the 13 Longinus, the boosted gear. Issei said with a smile. The room grew quiet. Gasper stared on attentively. Kaneko covered her snickers, and Aquino held a small smile. Rias had a deep frown. That smile made her look like a grumpy cat. She raised her hand one digit up. 1. You get 1 unpleasantness point for stealing my moment. Gain 3 and it means war. Issei could feel the capitalization of the word. Rias promptly went to her chair and sat down grumbling. Issei looked around for help. Kaneko simply looked on in amusement. Gasper just kept watch and Aquino was apparently giving him a thumbs up. He found himself smiling a bit. He didn't mean to interrupt Rias, although admittedly her pouty face was cute. Aquino coughed, gaining his attention again. Anyways, allow me to explain what that sacred gear you have is. It is called boosted gear. It allows the user to double their power indefinitely every 10 seconds as long as their body can handle that power. It is one of the 13 Longinus. Tools that have the power to even slay gods when mastered. I believe it's also said to have the spirit of a famous dragon housed within it. No wonder the fallen angels viewed you as a threat. I see. Issei looked at his left hand, examining the gauntlet in detail. Suddenly it occurred to him that he can just walk around with it. How do I turn it off? Make this thing go away? Just think of it as returning to your body, or disappearing. Is it that simple? With just a bit of concentration, like finding a button at the back of his mind, he mentally clicked it, and the sacred gear dispersed into light and disappeared, returning to where it previously resided. Talk about user-friendly, he muttered. He then turned to Aquino as another intrigue dawned on him. So, they knew I had this boosted gear and wanted to take me out. I would say they probably thought you had a potentially strong sacred gear, but not a Longinus. Otherwise they wouldn't have deployed only 1 fallen angel to kill you, as they would have wanted to make sure to not leave a body for any devil that chanced to find and revive you. Revive? Issei's jaw dropped in surprise at this new knowledge. Devils can bring back someone from death? Rias, Aquino looked to her president, as it was her responsibility to explain this part. She kept staring at Rias unrelenting. Rias at first was ignoring the conversation and looking to the side. The stare kept pounding at her, until Rias found herself looking back at Akino, who continued her stare unflinchingly. "Oh, okay. Rias finally said after finding herself beginning to sweat. "Fine then, Haida Issei, allow me to tell you about the Devil's Peerage." She told him how the devils developed a method to repopulate their numbers. The evil piece and how they worked, and most importantly how they worked in relation to reviving someone. So you can bring back someone from the dead, but only if they died recently. That's that pretty amazing. Even with a time limit, giving someone a second chance like that awesome. Also, Issei gained a wide perverted grin. It's like having your own personal harem. Rias had a grin. She opened her mouth. "Make that joke and you will have no tea for a week." Rias closed her mouth with a whine. Issei found himself chuckling at the exchange, and then quieted down to gather his thoughts. Today had been really long. It was a roller coaster of the most bizarre events of his life. His girlfriend tried to kill him, he discovered that the supernatural was real, and that he had a legendary item that in game terms would be the most hacks and unfair thing ever. At this point he couldn't help but think, what do I do now? Well, Issei looked up to see Rias answering him. Looks like he said that last thought out loud. "I would say you earned a good night's sleep. You look like you need it. Kaneko-chan, please escort Haida-kun back to his home, and take care of any bugger that bothers you guys." Rias surprisingly had a kind, understanding look to her, rather than her goofy, carefree one. Issei looked at the windows behind Rias to see that the sky had become dark already. "I didn't even notice the club room's lights turn on." Also, Akino moved and brought out some paper strips from her pocket. "Kaneko, put these around Haida-kun's house." She handed Kaneko the paper strips and then turned to Issei. "They will form a protective barrier against anyone with ill intentions toward you or your family. It wouldn't hold them forever, but it will send us a warning signal of an attack and buy you more than enough time for us to arrive and help." "I see," Issei gulped at the news. Will my house or my parents be attacked?" The fallen angels wouldn't want too much attention put on their actions, so they will mostly focus on you. Also, with that Yuma girl's failure, they aren't likely to attack you anytime soon, seeing how we responded the first time. Oh, Issei released a sigh of relief. "That's good to know. Thank you for everything. Gremory-senpai, everyone." He bowed to all the club members in turn. "Devils are really different from what I would have expected from the stories." He scratched the back of his head with a sheepish smile. "Again, thank you for everything," he bowed once more. "Haida-kun." Issei raised his head, as the red-haired devil addressed him. "You can just call me by my first name, since I hope we'll be friends from now on," said Rias with a wide smile. "Same here, Haida-kun," added Akino with a gentle smile of her own. Issei turned to the quiet member of the group. "Same here, senpai. Would you please stop being so cute?" "Ah, I see." Issei found himself blushing at being accepted by two hotties and Gasper. "You can all me Issei then, although my friends call me Issei." "Very well, Issei-kun. Get home safe. Bye-bye." "Well then," Kaneko began, headed to the door. "Let's get you home, Nyan," she said with a fist pump in the air. "So, Kaneko-ch, not a chance, pervert. It's Kaneko-san or Sama, Naya ha. Kaneko opened the door. "Ugh." Issei felt like he was physically hit by her rejection. "Fine, Kaneko-san, I prefer Sama." Kaneko stuck her tongue out at him. Sama?" That discussion continued for a while long after Issei closed the clubroom door and left with Kaneko. A Longinus wielder, huh? Of all the things Akino contemplated on where this development will lead. Gasper, Rias now focused on the young vampire. "Do you have the footage?" "Ah, yes." Gasper retrieved the camera from his box and brought it to the redhead. "I made sure to get everything clearly and with good audio quality." Rias opened the side screen of the video camera and played the scene in the forest. "Enough. There was never a relationship. I simply pulled him out here to kill him. The rest of this so-called date was just for my amusement." "So, your intentions along was just to kill him? That's it? No love, nothing?" "Yes." "Now you?" "Shut up. And you? Can die." Rias stopped the video and closed the screen with a smile. "Great, now Akino make several copies of that." "Gasper, you did great today. Thank you again for helping." "It's nothing, senpai." Gasper blushed at the praise, but still gave an appreciative smile. It's fun, other than training or games. I feel like I'm not doing enough stuff, he said, looking down. Gasper, he looked up to see Rias had moved from her seat and was standing in front of him. Hands on her hip, bent down to meet his eyes. Then she ruffled his hair. Senpai. He deflected her hand, unable to hide the hint of a smile. No frowning in this club room. She stood back up, hand crossed with confidence brimming from her. You don't need to do anything, Gasper. Just being a friend is enough. You already helped me out a lot, and when the time comes that you feel ready to return. Her tone became gentler. Then we'll go with you and back you up just the same. Thanks, senpai. Gasper couldn't help beaming. Akino found herself smiling at the exchange. So, she began as she examined the footage herself, and prepared to leave for her task. Should I expect Issei-kun to join our club in the future? Well, Rias moved back to her chair, throwing her weight upon it while Gasper returned to his game. Maybe. I can't exactly predict the future, nor can I expect to be able to protect him 24/7. Should he agree to it, I will train him so that he can protect himself and his family, maybe even have him as part of our patrol group. Who knows, if that works out and word spreads that a dragon is guarding Ko City, maybe that will deter some of the less dumb stray devils. The reputation of a dragon would definitely be seen as scarier than the lowest ranked devil in history, wouldn't you say? Rias said with amusement. I see, the black-haired devil nodded. And if he just wants a normal life, I'll try to appeal to his sense of adventure, and if his answer is still no? Well, we have been looking after this place just fine for the past 2 years, I think we can manage. Rias replied nonchalantly. And if he wants to be a devil to get a harem? That got Rias's attention as she held a faraway look, really contemplating the possibility. I guess he'll be joining the student council, said Rias with a nod. Akino held a melancholic expression. Rias, having the wielder of the boosted gear as part of your peerage will definitely. Principles. Rias sharply cut off her friend. Are called that because we don't get to drop them whenever they become inconvenient to us, Akino. I'm not going to change my policy on recruiting, even if it's the Red Dragon Emperor. Akino slumped her shoulders and let out a sigh, having already expected Rias's answer. All right then, I'll go and make copies of this. Akino held up the video camera. What about you? What are your plans? Rias stood up. I am going to meet my bestest bestie. Rias threw her hands in the air, as she held her wide grin. May she rest in peace. Akino placed her hand on her chest in mourning. Sona-chan's not dead. No, but I expect that stroke to happen any day now. Humph. Rias pouted and crossed her arms. You're my queen, stop teasing me, and being a general killjoy. Are you going to act like a grown-up anytime soon? Never. Well, there's your answer. Akino turned on her heels, and began to walk away. Oh, by the way, we are almost out of tea leaves. Thought you should know before we actually run out, she said as she closed the door behind her. Humph, I'll get her back for that. Rias muttered before she turned to the effeminate bludder. Gasper, I'm going to Sona-chan's, want to come with? Tomo-chan might be there. The young vampire thought about it for a while before he shook his head. No, I'll wait for Kaneko-chan. We had a few quests to finish together. Rias gasped in surprise. Aren't you gonna wait for me? I thought we're taking down the Lich King together? Rias looked like someone killed her puppy. Not for a while. We have a league campaign that we have been doing, and you didn't invite me? Truly betrayal stung deep. You were busy, senpai. Ugh, Rias looked to the side. How about the next one? Gasper pushed his attempted to cheer his senior. All right, Rias nodded firmly. Next time then. Bye, Gasper. Rias waved wildly as she left. Gasper thought of the eccentricities of his friends. The past year and a half had been one of anxiety, excitement, fear, exertion, and even content. He had found a family that accepted and supported him, and even got to walk in the daylight without as much difficulty as he used to. Bye, senpai. Maybe one day he'll go back home to fix things. For now, he turned his game back on. Yes, ma'am. Issei shouted as he covered his groin in fear and imagined pain. For the 10 minutes he had been arguing with the young cat-like devil about which form of address to use for her. Along the way, she had decided that Kaneko-san was boring, and demanded that Issei only calls her Kaneko-sama for allowing him to talk to her. He's been trying to convince her to change that, but so far no such luck. Look, I'm just not calling you with Sama, Kaneko-san, Issei said, in his attempt at an authority tone. Kaneko held up her fist to him with a sly look. Rock, paper, scissors? Issei narrowed his eyes at the challenge. He rolled back his sleeve and readied his good arm. I'll have you know, I was the champion of this game in elementary school. I'm sure every elementary kid shakes at the mentions of your name at schoolyard games. Ha! You may joke now, but by the end of this, you'll be call me Issei-sama. Kaneko gave a mocking grin. Rock, paper, scissors, they said at once. 5 minutes later, be best T21 out of 19. Issei said near tears. The champion of Isaku Elementary School, beaten by his kohai. Why, you're cheating. You have to be. You haven't been even looking for the past 3 games. No one likes a sore loser, Nyan. But come on, I didn't win even once. No one is that good or lucky. That's because I was cheating. You just said you didn't. He cried out. No, Kaneko began in a condescending tone. I said you're being a sore loser. I never said I wasn't cheating. I have super senses, I can tell what move you will make before you make them. What? How is that fair? You're the one who challenged a devil thinking their normal abilities are the same as a human, Nyan. Making assumptions like that come back and land you on the rear. Kaneko continued on her way, with a satisfied smile and giving a sagely nod to what she just said. Fine, fine. Lesson learned. Issei gave a long sigh, realizing he underestimated the petite cat girl, thinking the game he was familiar with would be an easy win. Now let's hear it. Kaneko edged her head in Issei's direction, a smug smile on her face. Mumble, mumble, louder, Issei-chan. I am your humble servant, Kaneko-sama, he said in a resigned tone. And Issei started tearing up. And per your orders I will not look, say or do anything perverted. He actually began sniffing from his runny nose. For a whole week, and then Issei broke down crying. He should have quit the game while Kaneko's only demand was adding the sama suffix to her name. Now, he must call her that as well as give up his passion for a week. He even agreed to burn his current porn magazines. He had been a fool to accept those terms. Truly, she's an evil devil that preyed on his innocence. Naya ha 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 ha, witch, demon, devil. He cursed her with all his resentment and oncoming frustrations. Of course, I'm a devil. Fear me, mortal. I came to take your porno mags away. Naya ha ha ha, Deam-yu. Issei shouted to the heavens. Tear ran down his face at the injustice of the world. Why? Why did this happen to me? Why do my beloved Issei have to be stolen from me? Why must this suffering be allowed? Grandfather in heaven, I despair for Issei have failed me. God is dead. God is dead. Tuju Kaneko, Issei pointed with loathly at his new nemesis. Know that you will pay for today's transgressions. My porn will be avenged, you hear me? Avenged. Would you shut up, you weird-ass kid? The owner of a nearby apartment shouted at them. Issei, red-faced, quickly took Kaneko's hand and ran on their way. Naya ha 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 ha. Later on, as the duo entered Issei's neighborhood and headed toward his home, found his curiosity springing up again. So, what's being a devil like? If there is no soul or anything like that, and you go to school, and probably get a job after graduation, is there a difference between that and normal humans? There isn't much of a difference if you think about it in a general sense, Nyan. Kaneko placed a hand on her chin, in deep thought as she looked toward the night sky. She could make out some of the stars past the light pollution of the city lights. We have our own society, culture, history, and wars, just like humans. Physical-wise we are stronger, but affected by light, so weak devils will feel sluggish in the day. We age slower once we hit our prime, even then our lifespan are pretty long, Nyan. Really, how much? Well, they can't live that much longer, right? 300 to 500 years probably, maybe 1,000 for the higher classes. Well, a low-class devil lifespan on average of 5,000 years, said Kaneko as a feel mischief came to her again. 5,000. He cried out. Yep, and you double that for each class up. How many classes are there? Issei asked with odd curiosity. Well, you can ask Wani-sama about the titles and jobs of each class. There are low-class devils, mid-class devil, high-class devils, and finally ultimate-class devils. But, for some reason Issei began to feel dread from the look in Kaneko's eyes. You shouldn't let looks fool you. Some high-class devils can use their powers to change their appearance, so no matter how old they are, they can look as young as they like. Issei stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened as realization set in. Essay, Kaneko-sama. Which class is Ria Simp? High-class devil. Can't be able to have your own peerage without it. Her grin was now full-blown. Oh, and how old? Kaneko kept her grin and continued walking. Hey. Kaneko! Kaneko-sama! Beautiful, lovely and awesome Kaneko-sama, what is it? How old is senpai? Issei pleaded. Nai-hee-hee-hee. Kaneko started shaking in mirth from Issei's reactions. Are the issei real or not? Issei cried out, desperate for the truth. Ha 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 ha. She guffawed in laughter. It started as buzz. Like a fly coming toward you from far away, and you are not sure if it's here yet or not. They are supposed to be a premonition. A sign that citrus Sona had gotten used to. That meant something annoying was on its way. She didn't always catch this sign, either because she was busy with something else, didn't listen fast enough, or because she was simply tired of a long day of coordinating with Rias to trap and bind 5 different stray devils till the order for their disposal had arrived. I swear those barons and counts had to have been working together to give so many conflicting orders. The 5 stray devils didn't enter Coast City at the same time. One baron gave the order to kill another devil that had yet to enter the city. A count sent the kill order for one that had been captured, but didn't do so right away, so they had to keep it contained while dealing with others till the order came. Then there were the 2 barons, each of whom gave the order to kill one of twin stray devils, but no, they didn't give clear enough details to know which twin, till both kill orders were given. Until then, they had to deal with 2 stray devils with bishop pieces that could supplement and empower one another. And of course all 5 had to be mid-class devils, with 2 nearing high class, that were all mistakenly reported as low class. Sona gritted her teeth in memory of the first encounter. It's not like she expected them to be weak, or for 1 or 2 to be mislabeled, but they will all pay for this. Someday they will. Her peerage took care of 2 of the 5, while Rias and her peerage dealt with the rest. At least we now know who else wants to screw us over. While stray devil hunt are pretty straightforward, Rias surprisingly tended to get the political cases. A devil that might have someone in a high position, or one who held an important secret, or simply one who is well connected. They couldn't kill them haphazardly, lest they end up facing charges and court order to killing an innocent and important peerage member whom we absolved. It was all pure bullshit, but they had to deal with it. And of course, Rias, being the ever-vigilant and high moral holder that she is, she wouldn't simply let stray devils run around in her territory lest they harm someone. No, she instantly acted on them, so there wasn't even a chance of those stray devils preying on anyone. It was a good prerogative. It showed that Rias is a good governor, and it sent a strong message that her area isn't one anyone with ill intentions or inherent danger can walk into without severe consequences. Doesn't mean that having to deal with all these irritating games aren't a pain in the ass. Another frustrating thing was how all the kill order were forwarded to Sona, thus Rias couldn't act without Sona's consent. Unofficially, all it took was a phone call, or a communication spell to Rias. Officially, she needed to write an entire report to each and every single lord or lady on why she had asked another devil and their peerage to help with a task assigned to her. Salos. Nibirius. Berith. You heirs, now along with the others, are added to my shit list. When I become head of the Citri family, I swear I'll. The buzzing was there again. It felt familiar, like it meant something. Something that she had to do. Something that her instincts screamed at her. She could hear the beginnings of an echo of music in the distance. Oh, and oh, on Sona's desk, to the far right was a large red button. It is one that is hidden by weak illusions, as it was meant to be invisible for normal people. Sona instantly slammed her hand on it, activating her security and anti-Rias systems. It was late and all the student had went home, she was sure of it. While the trapdoors, magic seals, summon monsters, and other mechanics wouldn't stand a full-powered blast from the power of destruction Rias had, long ago Sona got Rias to promise to never use it during these exchanges between them. Thus if Rias was beaten or stopped in her tracks, she would leave Sona alone, and come to her with whatever problem she had the next day. In the morning, when all the students were there, and Rias cannot ask for favor that was too big and too crazy, and Sona could have a break after a long day without Rias's nagging her. While all of this might seem excessive, Sona really didn't want to deal with Rias at the moment. Seriously, how is she not tired after today? We had to hold some of those devils and seals for 20 hours. They had to rotate shifts, make excuses at school, and even use illusions for some meetings. For the whole student council, plus the occult club to be absent on the same day would have been far too suspicious, especially that it had happened last week. And Rias unaccommodatingly didn't like using hypnosis on humans unless it can't be helped. Please, please, please fail this time. I know the security system isn't completely fixed from last time, but please fail. I need some peace and quiet, and to finish these reports, so they would be handed by morning. The music was actually becoming more audible now. Words couldn't be distinguished, but it was clear that something was playing. Also, explosions started sounding out in the distance. Sona looked at the panel in front of her to see where Rias had reached and what systems were active. She looked up the magic gate in front outside of her office door. She could divert all the power to it, but Rias would then just speed past everything, since nothing would stall her. But if she kept the systems up, the door would take too long to close, and power was being drained for those security systems. Damn it, why did I give my peerage the day off? Oh yeah, they were all exhausted, on their last leg, and this was Saji's first stray devil hunt, and he needs to adjust to how difficult and dangerous it is. Rias had made it quarter of the way through. Sona was tired. She honestly wanted to sleep. Rias would just nag or throw something at her with her endless energy, and try to bring her into whatever shenanigans that would last all day, that she simply can't deal with right now. Sona took manual control of the security systems. She started directing the attack, using feints and delays to throw Rias off while the magic gate started to go down. She fed its activation the minimum energy while focusing the rest on stalling Rias. She didn't use the illusions. Rias would simply be able to tell by the magical energy that they are not there. Throwing objects within illusions was also useless since Rias doesn't even use her eyes. Freaking senjutsu bullshit. What Sona could do, however, was confuse Rias's magical senses while creating a roadblock. She made the trap doors and secret guns and cannons attack her while she brought one wall down to block her paths. Predictably, Rias evades the guns and cannons, gathered directed magical into her fist and broke through the wall, only to see the floor leading up to Sona's office was removed, and what was left was a deep pit with teleportation seal filling the bottom. Instantly, Rias spread her bat wings and took to the air. Sona smirked. The floor was returned, and then the walls and ceiling were charged with lightning magic, while a laser grid manually controlled by Sona was fired from those walls, floor, and ceiling. Rias quickly set to flying and maneuvering through the crazy targeting laser. These ones were like the movies, meant to set off the alarm, but strong enough to cut through steel. Rias, of course, didn't focus on her durability, but her speed, and poured her demonic energy into her wings. While Sona controlled and maneuvered the laser grid with one hand, with the other she was giving instructions to the rest of the systems down the path of Rias, to create a gravity field. She needed to stall Rias with the laser grid till it was finished. Gravity field completion, 30%. Rias flew, twisted, backtracked, and speed in all direction to make it through the laser grid. Gravity field completion, 53%. Rias had made it quarter of the way down, before she instantly stopped in midair. All the lasers pointed to her before Sona realized her mistake. Shit! Rias forced all her demonic energy to move to the side, and through a narrow opening in the lasers from where they were hitting. However, she wasn't unharmed. Some of the laser torn through her bits of her clothes, one went through her, nicked her arm, and one went through her hair, lighting it on fire. Gravity field completion, 78%. Come on! Sona shouted urgently. Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on! Rias made it halfway through the laser grid. The music was louder. Gravity field completion, 97%. Good enough. Sona quickly dropped a wall at the end of the laser grid and turned it off, diverting its power to the magic gate. Rias instantly crossed that space, reached the wall with a wide grin and her fist ready. Pow! She tore right through the wall, and Sona's office was in sight with the gate lit with many seals slowly coming down. Too bad, Sona-chan. Rias flew forward. Sona was despairing, and oddly beginning to make out the lyrics to the music she had been hearing. I'm gonna shoot you down, yeah. But then the lovely words appeared on Sona's monitor. Gravity field completion, 100%. Yes. Ugh. Rias dropped to the ground, unable to keep herself flying. Quickly she diverted her energy from her wings, which she dissolved magic into her, and focused on strengthening her body to withstand the field's effect. Rias started running forward, her goal in sight. Sona left one last trump card. It was either that, or focus on speeding up the magical gate. She didn't think the gravity field alone would have stopped Rias. Click. Rias looked down on what she stepped on. The gravity field was also filled with randomly moving mines. Boom! Sona sat back and let herself sink into her chair. She did everything she could. There was nothing else to do. The music grew closer, and so did the explosions. I'm gonna get you down, 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 down. Shoot you, shoot you, shoot you, shoot you down. Shoot you, shoot you, shoot you down. I'm gonna shoot to thrill. The last defense, the remade and improved magic gate, was halfway down. Its mechanisms were slow from the last time it was broken. Damn it, why did the magic gate take so long to repair? It wasn't even repaired right. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The music got louder. Play to kill. The magic gate was almost closed. Yes. She didn't make. Sona's elated thoughts were broken as the door to her office were blasted open by a magic force. And just before the magic gate could close down, Rias burst into the room with a power slide, and stopped with her hands pointing in the air, and her head down. Shoot! 2. Thriel! Rias brought her hand down, holding an air guitar, and throwing her hand down at the last note. Thank you? Thank you? She raised her head, shouting her gratitude to the masses. The sound of people wooing was actually heard in the background. Sona simply let herself stay sunk in her chair. She lost her peace and quiet. Again, she looked at Rias to see that bits of her clothes were ripped and stained, along with a cut on her arm that was starting to heal. Oh, and her hair was on fire. It was a consolation at least. Rias, your hair's on fire, Sona said in a calm manner, and not in any way trying to rub it in. I know, it's awesome, and there goes that feeling of glee. Sona frowned grumpily. I'm thinking of making a part of my super mode's look. Rias got up and went to grab a chair. You don't have a super mode, Sona said lazily. I can dream, can I? And I'm here to crush your dream. Also douse your hair now before you end up smoking up the room. Sona was beginning to feel sleepy. She had used the last of her energy to deal with Rias's arrival, and simply wanted to meet the Sandman now. All right. Rias used a quick water spell to extinguish the fire. Parts of her head were now bald. Eventually they would heal and regrow hair. Rias placed a chair in front of Sona's desk and sat down with a sigh. That was fun, right, Sona? Maybe if I answer her with hums and sighs she'll leave. It was a weak hope, but wow, today was a real mayhem. First that call about the stray devil sighting, which were in the completely wrong place. Then there was Rias began babbling on. Oh Mao-sama, she isn't gonna stop. Seeing that the only thing she can do to get her much-deserved rest was to make Rias get to the point of her visit, Sona sat up, shook herself awake, and interrupted her. Do you have to add insult to injury? I've never insulted you, Sona-chan. Rias immediately said aghast. Really? So using wind magic to play a soundtrack and people cheering in the area around you, while evading or destroying my security measures, showing that you are treating this whole thing as a play exercise isn't an insult? You mean the whole traps and death lasers isn't just a little game between us? Said Rias, and genuinely stunned at this revelation. Sona sighed as she massaged her temples. Rias, just what do you want now? I already sent the monthly funds to your account the other day, and I'm pretty sure there is nothing urgent for you to come here. And no! I am not up to snorkeling, race driving, video gaming, karaoke, or whatever else that popped into your head. Sona said in tired exasperation. I need a favor, said Rias, putting her elbows on the desk and resting her head on her palms. No. Sona deadpanned. I need to get into contact with Sarah-chan. Sona was quickly roused up, sleep fleeing away from her. Oh crap, this is serious. To be exact, I need Demon Lord Levitation to send an inquiry for me. Sona leaned forward, resting her arms on the table, and she focused on Rias. Why? There are fallen angels in Kuo. So, one of them, she, attacked a civilian. A human. It might be a misunderstanding, or a couple's dispute. Some fallen are known to be extremely emotional, and might attack in anger. It is not unknown to happen, and the human in question should have been prepared when he entered a relationship with a fallen. That might be harsh, and even wrong, since it happens a lot for a person to hide their race while in a relationship with a human. In Sona's defense, she was just too tired to care about what she saw at the moment as something trivial. I got it on tape that she planned to kill him from the start because it was her mission. He could be a spy, an escaped magician, a crazy person, or something we don't know. It's Hayate Issei. He definitely did something to piss her off. No, she asked him on a date to lure him out, and Sona-chan, I need you to focus. I already said that the Fallen said it was her mission. Then what is it? Sona cried out. He's the security. Sona's eyes snapped wide open. She looked at Rias carefully, trying to see if she was joking or not. Rias held Sona's gaze. Well, held her gaze with her eyes closed, but held it nonetheless. Sona fell back into her seat, staring upward. Sona began to swear only to see it as wasted effort, and just sighed. Rias fell back into her own chair and looked to the ceiling as well. You said it. They both fell into silence. The day's event catching up to them. Their bodies felt chained in place as it screamed for them to rest, while their minds were awake to the sheer weight of the responsibility that fell on them. Why did you come the usual way rather than phoning me that you wanted to talk about something important? Sona broke the silence. Good training. A simulation for when I am in enemy territory, being attacked from all sides while not at full health. Rias's voice held a calm quality to it, rather than her usual cheer. Oh, Sona acknowledged with a small nod. The two devil airs fell silent again. Sophia, Sona said in a quiet yet commanding tone. While Sona was near empty of demonic energy, she had a few seal filled with energy to execute different commands when she needed them. This one was for a summoning spell. Why are you calling your familiar? Clean up. Oh, Rias gave her own nod. A magic circle lit up next to Sona, and soon enough a petite girl with short blonde near orange hair, and a sizable bust to her size. You called, Sona-sama. She cried out happily. The girl was Sona's familiar. A Selkie named Sophia. She had a wide smile and an ever-excitable energy about her. Sophia like Sona, as while she was strict she was a fair master who brought out her talents with her training. As long as that other one isn't here. Then she turned and saw Rias. No, she said in a low voice. Sophia's smile was gone. She paled and the excitement about her was gone. She turned to her master with a pleading look. Sona-sama. Those eyes quivered and watered in hope of salvation. Sophia, please go clean and fix up the hallways. Yet there was none to be given. Sophia dragged herself to the office door and looked out. Her eyes widened in horror at the sheer destruction she saw. Knowing that her master didn't want any noise from how tired she looked, she calmly closed the doors. Then she screamed, WWWHHHHHYYY. Nice girl, said Rias. Sona glared at her closest and most annoying friend. Overworking her familiar was just one of the downsides of keeping Rias as a friend. So, we have a squad of fallen angels wanting to kill the boosted gear user. There, Sona left the answer open to Rias. There are 3 fallen angels and 21 exorcists, all located at the rundown church in the Sanaka area. For now, they seem stationed there and won't change location as long as we don't spook them. So we have a 1-visit card on the table. Ing Senjutsu. Sona muttered. You said that out loud? I know, and I'm tired so I have an excuse. I can teach you. Sure, I might take you up on that. Sona paused for dramatic effect. When there are a few peaceful years, so I can learn a skill that requires that I unlearn everything I know about energy sensing from my own physiology to whatever it is Senjutsu uses. She replied sardonically. Of course, between Stray Devil, running this school, and dealing with whichever pillar family that wants to throw something at you, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Aw, it would have been so much fun, being Sona-chan's mentor. Rias lamented with a pout. Sona felt a shiver run down her spine. She had the feeling that she may have just dodged a bullet. Anyways, Sona continued. What's your plan? Sona sat back, but didn't slouch. Her back was straight, and her eyes focused. Rias leaned back and rested her elbow on one of the armchairs, and placed her face on her closed hand. I want Serafal to send a copy of the tape I took to the Grigori General Governor, Azazel, with an inquire of what this unit of fallen angels doing in my territory. Rias began the discussion. He could say, it's a rogue unit, or refuse to comment. He is the leader of the fallen angels, and can easily pull status on you. Sona countered her point. If it's a rogue unit, I can just dispose of them, after investigating who they are, in case one of them is important. If he refuses to comment, I'll ask that for the sake of maintaining the peace, that he orders them to leave. Rias offered her solutions. You think he would just do that? Sona asked. No leader of the 3 faction wants to be the one known as the person who restarted the Great War, especially after a silly reason like ignoring the devil governor of the territory his troops are in. She said with a sly smile. And if he says it's an important mission or reason, we can pull in my sister, and make this a full-on external affairs investigation. He would know we can pull it, since she's the one who would send the inquiry. Sona finished the analysis of their talk. Smart, she said with a small nod. And the security? Rias grew quiet. She thought about Issei, his situation, personality, and likely choices. Rias also considered Sona's situation and all the things she gave, even at risk of her own status for her. I guess you will want to ask him to join your peerage? Rias already knew the answer. While Rias, even now with this opportunity, you're still not going to try and add to your peerage? Sona asked, mouth near dropping from surprise. Or I do not know her answer. Thought Rias. Sona, you know me. You know my policy. Rias stated calmly. You will never need to recruit anyone after him. Practically any problem with the pillar families, you would be able to bulldoze over with a raiding game. Sona said heatedly. Even so, I'm not going to change my mind. Rias tried to smile with reassurance for Sona, but her expression only gave resignation. I'm going to stick to my guns, and keep facing those problems, while changing things one bit at a time. Eventually it will work out, Sona sighed in exasperation. Her Rias, to those who don't know her, was quite the idealist in her own stubborn way. I suppose you would like for him to stay human? Rias paused, thinking of agree, before shaking her head. No, you want to recruit him, right? Then go ahead, you have my blessing. He would help you a lot once you became head of the Citri. You sound sure that I'm going to succeed. Sona said with a slight attempt at sound smug, but unable to put the energy into it. More like I have faith in ItsEizan's nature. Rias said with a chuckles. Just one thing, after everything is done, and you say whatever you're going to say to him, give him a day. Just one day to think it over. Sona was quiet, looking at Rias intently. She wasn't sure which outcome Rias was hoping for. For Issei to stay human, or for her to gain a powerful ally. I would say, she herself isn't sure. But even so, for her friend, she can accept such a small condition. So, after I threw in my speech, my presentations, and completely bedazzle him, you want me to give him the chance to hesitate, doubt, and think of reasons to say no? Sona paused. Sadly, she knew Rias wouldn't grow nervous from their exchange. Sure, she gave a nod. Besides, my peerage would be unbalanced with him around, not to mention how much he'll probably argue with Saji. Thank you, Sona-chan. Rias gave a grateful soft smile. You know, you should smile like that more often. Sona found herself smiling in turn. Please, Rias said dismissively. This is my winning smile. Her energetic grin was back. Suddenly the place shook, and the sound of rocks breaking and falling could be heard. Dear Satan, why, you're doing great, Sophia-chan. Rias looked back and shouted encouragingly. Wah! Sophia's wails were heard in the background. See, Sona-chan. Rias turned back to Sona. A kind word can do a lot. Sona was slowly shaking her head at this hypocrisy. Anyways, Sona promised in her heart to make it up to Sophia later on. Do you have a copy of that tape? Aquino is bringing it in. She should be arriving soon. Alright, in the meantime, I've got reports to finish. Sona gathered up the papers in front of her and got to work. She heard the screeching of a chair being dragged. She looked up to see Rias, doing so, and bring the chair next to her. What are you doing? Sona asked with a raised eyebrow. Helping. I know how to do these reports with my eyes closed. Well, technically Rias began a joke only to be cut off by her friend. I get it. Sona gave a deadpan nod. So, since you had such a rough day, how about you take it easy for now, and let me handle it? Rias took some of the papers and began to rearrange them, so she could start. Sona was tempted. Really tempted, but this was her responsibility, and she should throw it on someone else for convenience. No, she shook her head. I'm the one who has to write the report. Unlike you, I don't like to delegate, as I give each person their assigned task. This one is for me. She moved and took back the paperwork. Seeing her friend's unchanged stance of not wanting to let someone else carry her duties, Rias helped in another way. The redhead devil placed her hand on Sona's shoulder and concentrated. Sona began to slowly feel losing her fatigue and regaining its strength. Not much, but enough to do a menial task like paperwork without any trouble. Looking at Rias, she realized what she was doing. Senjutsu. Rias, what are you doing? Sona already knew the answer. Sona, Rias stopped and looked directly at the Citri heir, as this skill was one she couldn't multitask in, even for something simple as talking. Ki sharing was a senjutsu skill she had a hard time with. She couldn't use it without absolute concentration. She can't do any other task while using it, and it restored only a little energy to the recipient. We're friends, I'm helping you out. I can't do much with the ki sharing skill, but for something this small, It should help. With that, she returned to her task. Sona, remembering the times she had to help Rias out in somewhat similar situations, where the Gremry Wild Devil was tired but insisted on finishing a certain task. Sona gave a small nod, conceding to Rias's point. Grumbling simply for the sake of it at the moment, she nodded and got back to work. Sona would have been angry at Rias had she taken the papers from her or tried to do some of them. Even if it wasn't true, it would have insinuated that she needed to be carried or cuddled, not strong enough to finish her responsibilities on her. Yet Rias understood that and helped in another way. It was a small stubbornness, a childish pride in wanting strength next to one who already had so much of it. For Sona, at least being able to carry out her own duties meant she was strong, right? While there are many perils to having Rias as a friend, her understanding was one of her many benefits. Later on, Rias's queen arrived with a USB and other digital storage forms of the video, just in case. While Sona phoned and talked to her sister, Akino helped the overworked Selkie familiar who tearfully thanked her and hailed her as her savior. After the paperwork was done, and a digital copy of the video sent to Leviathan, Rias then took Sona on a night out for karaoke and other fun activity. After all, you have the energy for it now, right? Was that your goal, all along? Sona shouted in baffled shock. Rias gave her usual cheerful grin. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the Silver W. King for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.